This is the show about the people who create, amplify, and influence our culture and how they do it. Want to capture lightning in a bottle? Want your content to spread like wildfire? I'm Ben Kaplan, and let's break the internet. Welcome to Break the Internet. I'm chatting with Scott Bigos, founder of Cheese Parade. And Scott, one of the things that's really interesting is sort of where this comes from for you. I mean, you've been making videos since you were 16, but you've had training in other things like actually going to film school. You've made movies, you've made other things. What keeps you bringing you back to this? I would describe it as almost like skit or sketch video for a social viral audience.
Yeah, it's just like the way that it's just the ideas that come to you. You know, I always think that we don't really choose our ideas. That's something that I believe. You know, you're kind of like, I just happen to get ideas in the form of short little bite-sized things. And maybe some people, when they get an idea, try to expand it. But my first thought is, how do I complete it? So if I think of a funny idea, a funny thing that could work as a sketch, my first thought is, okay, now how do I end it so that it can be a complete thing rather than like expanding it into something bigger? And so my ideas naturally become these little short bite-sized clips. And yeah, I was making short clips in high school, and I started making them again in like 2015, 2016, before I even got on TikTok. Somebody had to tell me to get on TikTok. And then I uploaded like old clips to it, kind of learned the TikTok game and re-edited them. And I was saying before that it's almost as if the world adapted to me instead of me adapting to the world.
Meaning that you had this sort of format that you liked.
Yeah.
And you thought it was compelling. And maybe at the beginning, other people didn't really recognize as a format. And then that format started coming into fashion.
Yes, there just wasn't a space. Like I would put these really short, like 30-second, 1 minute long clips on YouTube before YouTube Shorts. But nobody's clicking on those. Nobody's clicking on a 30-second video that like doesn't have, you know. But once I started getting in that, like, oh, this is going to serve you up to people. Once I got in that format, it was like, oh, this just works for what I do already. It was like worked for what I wanted to do, which now I got to like transition to long form content eventually. But for now, it was like, yeah, it felt like the world adapted to me, honestly. Like,
well, and just to give people an idea, I mean, if they haven't seen your stuff before, just the type of sort of skits or sketches you're doing. I mean, I think some of your most viral videos, in fact, you've done a whole series on these, is sort of balloon can't touch the ground, where essentially this concept is like, oh, if the balloon touches the ground, we're all going to die. And then stuff happens from that notion. So take us through like idea creation. Where does that come from? What is the generation of that? And now it's like a whole series. At what point do you say like, hey, this is more than one little idea, we're going to keep running with this?
Well, it's interesting because we never, like, I don't do follow-up videos or sequel videos like ever. I'm usually against it, but Balloon Boys happened to be so overwhelmingly popular, like literally changed my life, that it was like, all right, I'll make some more of these. Like, kind of happy at that point. So that idea, I'm at a birthday party holding the balloon, and I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I went up to this group of people and said, if this balloon touches the ground, we all die? Because everyone has kind of played that game as a child's, and that sentiment. I actually, at that party, just went up to people and just held it up, because they all know we're always talking about sketches and stuff. And I was like, hey guys, if this balloon touches the ground, we all die. That's a thing, right? Like, you guys remember that? And everyone was like, yeah, I remember that. And I was like, I know that this is something, because one, it has die in the first sentence. So like the stakes are there right away. And I know that the opening image of this sketch can just be somebody saying, if this balloon touches the ground, we all die. I did, like, before I figured out what's going to happen for the rest of it, I was like, this is going to be something.
Okay, and you just like it from the point of view of the title. Like there's high stakes.
I knew that the opening image would be somebody saying, if this balloon touches the ground, we all die, and hitting a balloon. And I knew that would be relatable and already set up sort of stakes. And then it was just a matter of what happens then. And then I just think of like the funny twists, which are, you know, when somebody starts threatening the group by holding the balloon close to the ground and being like, I'll drop it, and everyone freaks out. And then wouldn't it be funny if they were invincible as long as the balloon didn't touch the ground? So somebody tries to stop them and then they're all invincible. And then it's like, okay, well, now that they're an invincible group of people, wouldn't it be funny if the government came in and made them a team? And it's like, how fast can I move this story? And I called them the Balloon Boys because when I was at that party and talking about the idea, when I was asking everyone, all the boys got it, and the girls were like, I kind of like, I don't know. So I was like, all right, maybe this is a boy thing. So I'm going to call it the Balloon Boys.
Well, and did you have high hopes for it, or is it just like, hey, I have a creative idea, I want to see it through? Or did you think like, I mean, and just to give you, I mean, some of these videos in this series, I think the original one, 34 million views on YouTube. You have a follow-up, 39 million views. I see other ones here, 12 million views. So did you think like, hey, this is going to be a good thing? Have any idea? Or is it more just like, I'm just going to make it and put it out there, and I think it's funny, at least for me and my friends?
Yeah. So I was like, I think that before filming it, we're basically like, I think this could be something. It's like kind of funny. You don't really know that it's going to be anything special. And then after filming it and editing it, the night before uploading it, I'm watching it with my friend who's in the video, Brian. He's the general in the video. And you kind of like don't want to get your hopes up. I don't know. Sometimes you think it's going to pop off and it doesn't. So you don't want to be like, this is definitely going to be something big. You almost don't want to get your hopes up in that way. But it did feel like, I just felt like all the elements were there. I was like, okay, I think that this is going to make people stop scrolling. I think that it twists enough times in an interesting way. Like it was like, okay, I think this might be something. But again, yeah, I never get my hopes up really, because you just don't know.
Okay, so you thought it had a lot of potential, and what are the elements? I mean, we talked about the title that sort of you felt captured you, but what about the other parts that you think, was it just like the twists and turns and some kind of payoff, or what else did you really like about it that you think, you know, other creators could learn from and, you know, recognize something that has a lot of potential?
Well, it was, I felt like it was something that was relatable, but also not talked about a lot. You know, I had never heard anybody talk about, remember this game, if this balloon touches the ground, we all die. Like, do you remember doing this as a kid? I've never heard anyone talk about it. And yet it's like the floor is lava. It's like a thing that everyone kind of knows about. So that element of relatability, plus just the escalation of it, just like, it was just ridiculous. And, what sets us apart a lot of the times is like the filming of it and the costumes. So like we already have this, you know, military costume for a general to walk into, and then the stock music, which I should have brought up earlier that I'm going to want to talk about. Stock music is everything to me. Stock music is so important.
Because it sets the emotion, the tone, the feeling, that it's like, because these are like short clips. So you don't have a lot of I mean, you don't have like a whole feature film to build up the emotion to this moment. You've got to get people pretty fast in the emotional state.
Yes, exactly. And what's great about a good stock song, it's like a good stock song just is like a feeling right away. It's like, this is how this is supposed to feel. And it's just right away, this is how it feels. So when the general comes in and this like bump, 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 this like inspirational music comes in, it's inspirational right away. You already know what's going on. And what's really important about the stock music is that I actually, before I film anything, I bring the stock music into the video editor and I edit the sound and the music, so I know the pacing of everything before we even film everything.
Okay, so meaning, are you kind of either you pick out the music for the sketch, or you have other things you've heard, say, oh, that's going to be great for something. That's in my toolbox that I'm going to use. And you want the crescendos or the hits in the music. You don't want to have to change the music up to make it fit your pacing. Is that right? You want it to be natural.
Yeah. And it's to the point where if I don't have an idea for how to end a sketch, I'll listen to the music that I'm going to use. Or if I don't have any ideas for sketches in general, I'll just listen to stock music and I'll hear a good song and I'll be like, if I can make a video that matches this song, that lives up to this song, then I'll know I'll have something, because this song is so beautiful and so good that it's like, if what I make lives up to this. So like, and a song music has such a natural pacing already. So it's like, the music tells you what to do. It just tells you what to do. So it's like, okay, so this part builds up. This part of the song builds up, and then there's a big crescendo right at 45 seconds. Okay, something needs to go there.
Okay, so you're going to have like this buildup is going to be like your setup for this moment of things escalating, and bam, the government, agent or general comes in at that moment.
Yes, whatever it is, it's just like a lot of times there's a core idea. And then, like, I think for Balloon Boys, I don't exactly remember like how I thought of it, but I probably like had the first part of the idea. But the idea of like a military guy coming in probably didn't come until I listened to the music, until I heard the stock song and was like, oh, this could be like a general's speech. So like, for a lot, the music comes first, like pretty much all the time for me. Because yeah, once you know the pacing and the sound, and if it works on that level, it's probably going to work on video. So yeah.
Well, and what is your sense of sort of the formula for like overall like duration, length? Because you might, I mean, for instance, in this Balloon Boys video, you could just be like, oh, I can keep going on other riffs off this that just get more and more ridiculous. I could just keep going. How do you know when to like cut it off or expand or something else?
I mean, well, to be honest, for that one, it was 1 minute, the 1 minute mark.
Okay. So you were trying not to cross that. Okay.
Yeah. Just because the way of the way YouTube Shorts works. So YouTube Shorts can't be longer than a minute. TikTok only monetizes videos that are over a minute. So you're aiming for 59 seconds so that you can add 1 second for TikTok. And that's like the optimized length for monetization right now. Although I'm starting to care less and less about TikTok and Instagram and more just focused on YouTube.
And why is that? Do you think that the combination of shorts and longer form allow you to like, grow an audience with shorts and then pay off things more with the longer form, like build your subscriber base through shorts and then deliver the longer form?
Pretty much, yeah. So I will eventually transition to long form because ultimately that pays significantly better. In comparison, TikTok essentially doesn't pay. If you look at like in comparison to how well a long form YouTube video, and it makes sense because a long form YouTube video people watch ads for. So if you're not making people watch ads, you're probably not making much money. You got to make people watch ads. You got to make long form. But YouTube also just kind of rewards. YouTube doesn't care how old your video is, so it rewards timeless content. And that's kind of what most of my content is. Whereas on TikTok, there's people talking about the thing that happened on last night on the internet. There's people talking about the latest trends and stuff. TikTok will stop showing your video. You're not seeing videos from last year on TikTok. But on YouTube, once my one video popped off, all my old videos started getting lots of views. And I started making money off old videos. And it kind of became this thing of like, oh, every time I make something successful on YouTube, I'm sending more people down the rabbit hole of my videos, and I'm making money off all my old videos. Whereas TikTok isn't really like that. It's like, yes, this one video went off, but it's not like they're going to start showing that person who liked my newest video, a video I made 2 years ago. They're just not going to do that. That's just not how TikTok works. But it is how YouTube works. So YouTube is just better for my type of content in that sense. And it just, for that reason, it like pays better overall.
Well, and how has that, the shift in focus from TikTok to YouTube, how has that shifted your content itself? I mean, you've talked about that, you can monetize it better. You want to shift towards long form, but has it shifted, is it a different nature of like making people stop scrolling or paying attention or searching or things like that is different now that you're YouTube centered?
Yeah. So I'm honestly still trying to figure YouTube out in that sense, because what's weird about YouTube Shorts is that the caption is also the title. So I'm like, should I do a caption or should I do a title? Which is like a weird thing you got to figure out on YouTube. And like I said, TikTok pays for videos that are over a minute, but a YouTube short can't be longer than a minute. So I'm kind of stuck in this world of like, should I be filming things vertically and then making a horizontal version if it's longer than a minute as well? Once YouTube started working well, I started caring less about videos being. I had just started monetizing TikTok, and I had just started thinking, all right, every video's got to be over a minute now, or not every video, but like if it can be over a minute, let's make it over a minute. And then right after that, YouTube started popping off in a good way, and I was like, okay, well, now I actually don't really care about it being over a minute because YouTube Shorts is going to pay me regardless of if it's like 30 seconds or 59 seconds. So in a sense, it's like I started to change for TikTok, and then YouTube was like, no, you can still make really short stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. And now I'm kind of just like, I don't really think about it that much in terms of the content. I still like am just mostly concerned with the jokes working, and it just working on the level.
And how much do you edit yourself? Like, do you release everything you do? Do you not release things? Do you test it and then redo if you don't like something or you don't see the result you want? Like, how much are you sort of curating this at this point?
That's a great question. So I edit I do curate the backlog a little bit. Like if I think a video could have been better, I'll take it down with the intention of eventually re-uploading a different edit of it. But I don't do that much. I edit myself in general a lot. Like I'm big on cutting yourself down and editing and making things shorter. Like if you're an editor, if you're editing something, this is just general advice here. Make a shorter version and just see what it looks like. Like you have that minute long version. Let's see what a 45-second version looks like. Just see what it looks like. You have the minute version. Just see and it's always better. The shorter version is almost always better. And it's hard. I think a lot of people struggle to cut themselves down. They get attached to little jokes. They get attached to little scenes like, oh, this scene was really difficult to film, so I really want that to be in there. Nobody cares how hard it was to film. Just cut it down. Like you gotta, and that's a strength when you can work really hard on a shot. When you can work on a shot for 3 hours and then not use it, that's when you know you're doing well. That's when you know you're editing like a pro. When you're like ruthless, you gotta be ruthless.
Well, and you and I have chatted before about some of the edits you've done to make things perform better. I mean, you've talked about sort of this notion of beginning in the joke versus before the joke, like beginning right in it. What do you mean by like beginning in the joke in the context of like sort of getting people's attention fast?
Yeah, so context can often be overrated. So I have one example. It was the first thing I put on TikTok that went viral. I put a lot of stuff on TikTok. I put this that didn't work. And then I learned like, oh, I got to convert these to vertical. I got to add subtitles. But one of the biggest lessons was in this government drone video. It's this like satirical dystopian world where a drone interrupts a conversation with friends and is like, hey, this is the government. And it's like a wacky, happy government drone thing. And the original upload had a moment of the conversation that the drone was interrupting. So there was a solid 5 to 7 seconds before the drone came, and the drone was the premise of the joke. So cut out that 5 seconds, start with the opening shot being the drone coming down, and we can figure out that it's interrupting a conversation. We don't need to see it. So one big thing I always say is, what is this is better than I know what this is. So if somebody's scrolling and they go, oh, I know what this is, they're going to scroll up. But if they'll stop if they're like, wait, what is this? So give their brains something to do. Don't worry about context. Like if they're a little bit confused, you're giving them something to do. They're going to catch up. They're going to figure it out. And that's what starting in the joke is. I think a lot of people like, they want to throw that little joke at the beginning or show that, oh, they're coming back from a place. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. The point is cut from the beginning everything until people literally wouldn't be able to figure this out. But if I can start your video 5 seconds in and still figure it out and understand the video,
then you probably should just do it.
Cut the first 5 seconds. Then make it as quick as possible.
Well, and then we've talked about the beginning. What about editing the middle? So let's say you're doing this minute-long video, and you just want to like avoid the drop-off, right? Like in the context of Balloon Boys, it's more like, oh, that's kind of funny. I sort of get it, but I don't need to see it escalate further. I just like, I got it. I recognize that. That's cool. I'm going to move on. So what do you do in the middle to like hold attention, or do you have some rules of thumb on like how long you go before another like crescendo or like another joke or another aha moment that people see?
I have less rules about the middle. The middle that could be anything. You don't know if they're going to scroll up, they're going to scroll up at that point. If they're not on board, they're not on board. I would never like make a move to keep attention at that point. It's like the opening image, you want to decide, you want to pick one that works. You want to cut from the beginning until it works. And then you want to close on a high note. The middle is like, I mean, that's I'm like looking at all my sketches right now. I have a calendar above my thing, and I'm looking at them. I'm trying to think of like a lot of my sketches don't have middles. A lot of them are so short that it's literally just a beginning and an end.
What is a good ending? What's a good payoff? If you want something to loop also, how do you think about it?
I don't go for loops. I never go for loops. I think I went for a loop one time and then I regretted it. It didn't work. And I was like, you know what? I don't think people like to think that they're being tricked. So if you pull any kind of little scheme like looping the video without them noticing, I think that's going to make a lot of people mad actually and not like the video. So people don't like that. At least I don't think they do. The ending, you want to end on some kind of high note that completes the idea, and then take like maybe a half second or a couple seconds off the end. Like you could cut at the end of somebody's sentence before their last word ends. I think that does something in their brain that's like, wait, I wanted more, Whereas if you drag it on for like 1 extra second, they'll be like, I was done with that anyway. So for the ending, have your ending, end on a high note, and then maybe cut off 1 second. Just like that. That's the only thing that I would consider like a trick. That's like, the moment that they get it, then end it.
There's no sense, and you would never do like the outtakes or the something else or the anything else that would show some added context or.
Oh, no. I would never, maybe for some types of content that work, but for sketch comedy, definitely not. And not like, definitely no like credits. Yeah, no outtakes. Nobody cares about your thing.
Like that's important to you, but not to anyone else or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, and what about the whole ideation of the sketches and stuff like that? I mean, do you sit down and like, I am ideating now, or is it more just like throughout the day? Because I know it can be daunting. Sometimes people like to do more like improv stuff. They capture something, they have it, but like obviously a sketch, particularly one with multiple actors in it, has to be really like planned out. That can be daunting for some people who haven't done that before.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, stock music's a big part of it. If I'm trying to think of ideas, I'll listen to stock music and think, what would go with this music? Sometimes you'll play a song and be like, oh, this is like the music they would use for a paper towel commercial. And you listen to the song and you picture a paper towel commercial, and then you just give it a little funny twist and try to make yourself laugh. And that's really what comedy is.
Well, and I heard on kind of the song that went crazy viral, like Old Town Road. When I think I once heard an interview with Lil Nas X, who said something like he heard that track and it sounded like like an old, wagon and a horse. And it just sounded like that. And that actually inspired the entire song of just like, okay, so what would that be in current terms? Just that little musical riff.
Yeah, that's why music is so powerful, because so much can go over it and on it and with it. So it's like this music, let the music take you somewhere, and then your brain is going to show you something, and then you look at that thing and you say, how do I show everybody else this thing?
Did you ever do stuff with like memes or other things or musical bits that are like, trending on TikTok and using ideas off that? Or did you stay away from any of the kind of like real trendy stuff?
I stay away from it. If to the point where if I have an idea and then I see that it's trending, I would not do it because it takes away all of the fun for me. I don't want to do what the other people are doing. That's like, why would I do it? They're already doing it. What? I feel like I'm not contributing anything to the world if I'm just like trying to do stuff that's popular. I don't know, like it's already done. If I see like a trending thing, I'm like, okay, I'm like, great job. This is awesome that you guys are doing it. Why? There's no reason for me to do it. It's already being done, unless I like actively can think of like a way to sort of twist it. But no, I don't like, I avoid trends and stuff. I try to like, I would say I'm pretty much never like inspired by the content that I'm seeing when I'm on TikTok. Like, I don't hate it or anything. Like, it's good in its own way, but I think generally it's easier to be inspired by like the real worlds. And then you think of, it's like, I'm always just trying to think of funny things in general, because that's just the way I live my life. And if I think of something funny, it's like, okay, how do I get everyone else to see this funny thing that I see about the world,
And have you over time, have you tried to like evolve things or sort of stay true to the original, or have you evolved things? I mean, for instance, you're now more focused on YouTube, but as you see the response to Cheese Parade, have you just tried to say, laser focused on that and do more of it? Or are you trying to expand the audience or give them something different in different ways?
I mean, in general, I plan on going into long form and expanding into longer form content, because that's just the next logical place to go and the way that makes money. But as the pages in general have gotten more popular, the way, as I've learned what works on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, it's more changed the way that not the way I think of ideas, but the way I structure them once I think of them, and the ideas that I choose to do. So if there's 3 ideas on my list, I'm going to pick the one that I think would work the best, because why not? These are my 3 ideas. I like them all equally, but there's this one that has a strong opening image. It has all the elements that work, and it's makeable.
I see. And is that your checklist? I mean, you just, I think, gave me two items off your sort of, I don't know, idea creation checklist. One is strong opening image. 2 is, it sounds like doable, just like, yeah, you could do something that requires like CGI on a planet, but that might be hard to film to pull it off, right? So it's like
so makeability. Yeah, makeability is a huge thing, and especially with sketch comedy, it's like sketches are crazy. I've looked at this podcast, Break the Internet, and people that have been on it, and I'm like, man, I really just don't relate to most of these which is cool about your podcast, that you get these kinds of like different people, because every sketch is just a completely different set of challenges. It's like every sketch is like, there's just some weird thing. I gotta like, all right, I gotta make my room look like a hospital bed this week. We gotta find a costume. We gotta make like a mechanic costume. We gotta, we're gonna get an angel and a devil this week. So I gotta get those. There's costumes, there's props that need to be done. There's like some kind of weird effect sometimes. Like, okay, I got to figure out how to make somebody jump in and out of a photo in this week. Like every week is like, and that's also part of why I love it.
Okay, it's kind of like a new challenge in the way, based on the topic, the subject matter.
Yes, or like like I was gonna say, you never know if the sketch is really gonna work and be funny, so you might as well challenge yourself and learn and become a better filmmaker.
And what do you so what is there anything else on your list? You have strong opening image, makeability. Is there anything else in your like kind of mental criteria that you're doing on whether you choose to do something?
And then funny, like, or like just sort of the energy I want to put out into the world.
Just would it be fulfilling for you to make it, and you think it would be something that you would be want to say, or a commentary on the world?
Yeah, and it needs to feel like something that would only come from Cheese Parade, you know, and I think that that's a big reason why I would avoid trends and stuff.
Well, so maybe if I was doing your 4, just to paraphrase what you're saying, Scott, I would say strong opening image, makeability, unique, because it's uniquely you, and maybe like on brand for Cheese Parade. Like this is something that Cheese Parade would do.
Yes. There is a certain brand aspect to it where it's, yeah, for sure. I've definitely heard people have pitched me funny comedy sketch ideas, and I'm like, that is a funny comedy sketch idea, but it's not like a Cheese Parade idea.
Okay, because I'll make up one. It's like, oh, that's very Seinfeld. He's talking about something he observes in the world that's kind of nothing, but it's something. But we're not going to do a skit on that. But he should do a joke about that. But it's not us.
Yeah. Like I was going to say before that, it's like, first of all, even if it's not funny, I want people to at least be like, that was a crazy idea.
Like good attempt, bold try, or something like that. Like
exactly. He really tried something there. That's what I want. Yeah. Like, wow, he really went for it. That was so stupid, but my God, did he go for it? Like I want at least that. And then as far as like what the brand is, it's like there's a lot of sketch comedy that's like a character, like a guy who, you know, that annoying friend at the party. And then it's like him saying a bunch of funny things that the annoying friend at the party says. There's a lot of sketches that are like, this guy's crazy. And then there's like, he's acting crazy and everyone else is normal. Or like a bunch of people are acting crazy and there's one normal guy. We kind of don't do that. Everybody's crazy in ours, or everybody's normal. And I also never want the context of the sketch to be that this is a comedy sketch. So the context should be, this is a children's TV show, but then obviously we twist it and it's a comedy sketch, you know. This is an environmental commercial, but then obviously there's a comedic twist. So like that's what satire is, right? So it's like mimicking some other type of form is always, to me, the most interesting. I wanted to, like, recently we did a fake commercial for this tiny cheese man, and the context was you're watching a review for a product. You know, that's like what we're telling the audience, but then obviously it is a comedy sketch. And I think that's an important distinction, you know. Like I would say Saturday Night Live, the context is always that it's a comedy sketch. But if you watch something like Key and Peele, the context is something completely different. So I'm more like the Key and Peele style. Those are like sort of the different schools of thought in sketch comedy, whether it's like more about characters. Like we aren't really about like performances and characters and like a funny performance.
And that makes sense because you don't do too many sequels. If you're characters, what make them funny is bringing them back, now putting them in a context. You kind of need to develop them, particularly in a short form, right? You're going to need more with them.
And that's the advantage of doing characters. I'm jealous of people who can do characters because they can just like make a lot of funny stuff really quickly. Whereas I'm like, shit, I got to come up with a whole new thing.
What's the kind of quantity of sketches you're trying to create, the cadence? How much of your time? I mean, are you doing this like a full-time job now? Are you not? I know you do stand-up and other things as well.
Yeah. I am doing it like a full-time job in the sense, well, I'll just give you my schedule. So we release a video every Monday and we usually film on Sunday. So Sundays are like 12 to 14 hour days for me, just because wake up, I'm prepping for the shoot, we're filming, and then I'm editing till like 3 a.m. that night. So Sundays are like the day that it happens, and all week is preparation for that. And how difficult or easy it is just depends on what idea I happen to be blessed with that week. Sometimes like, this is going to be a really hard one. Sometimes I think of it on Tuesday, and that's great. Sometimes I don't think of it until Friday, and that's tough. The more the clock ticks, you know, I have some sketches in the backlog that are like harder to make ones that it's like, okay, I can't make this week. So this week I need to come up with something different to be this week's sketch. And the longer it takes, you know, the closer I get to Monday when it needs to be released, the more like possibilities kind of dwindle down, where it's like, okay, well, now that it's Friday night and I still don't have what I'm doing, now it's like, okay, this sketch can only have like 3 people in it and not that many props or costumes. Although I will say that we are building up quite a solid collection of props and costumes. And that has been one of the strongest, like, that's been huge for us. Don't sleep on props and costumes, people.
Then you can just, like you said, music for inspiration. You can go to your closet for inspiration and just see what I have there. What can I? Yes,
we got lab coats, we got military uniforms, we got cop badges.
You're a great friend to go to for like Halloween ideas or borrowing a costume. Yes.
Oh yeah. And yeah, so I have 2 roommates that I live with as well, who are basically always down to film something on Sunday. And one of the guys, Brian, is he's in basically everything. He's kind of like the lead actor. I'll be the lead actor when I do it, when it's a role that I really want to be, but I would prefer to, I know when I'm behind the camera that I can make it look really good. So I would always prefer that. But if it's like if it's like a lot of words, then I'm always like, I'll just do it because I know the words.
And on the business side now, obviously we talked about moving to YouTube, but how have you been able to monetize it? What's been your best month? Are you looking for more brand partnerships now? I mean, are you going to actually put, like, you got the cheese? Are you going to put like some, I don't know, Velveeta in your next one and try to do stuff there? Where are you in sort of the business aspect of all of this now?
So 3 months ago, I was pretty terrified about money. Honestly, I was out of money. I was like, it was bad. And I was saying earlier that, like, you know, to succeed, I think, especially in comedy, you kind of need to do it like your life depends on it. And I think it's a lot easier when your life really does. And that's what it was for me. I kind of went into this survival mode of like, shit, like, I'm going to die. Like, this is my only, I don't have a 401k. I don't have health insurance, you know, like, I got to make this work. And then 3 months ago, that's when I started monetizing TikTok. So TikTok pays for videos that are over 1 minute. And I made a couple over a minute, and one got like 1.4 million views, and that paid like $80. And I was like, okay, TikTok, God, that's nothing. That's $80. Like, this is not going to work. And then Balloon Boys comes out April 8th. And that video changed my life, like, a lot. So Balloon Boys comes out. It has whatever on TikTok now, like 30 million. I remember opening up. Yeah. So I remember opening up TikTok and looking at it in the morning and seeing $1,000. And I was like, that's already, for me, $1,000 was life changing. So that was just the first day. It ended up making like 4,500 on TikTok. But the biggest thing was YouTube. So it started, Balloon Boys took off on YouTube, and I hit the metric to monetize YouTube, which is 10 million. For the shorts metric is 10 million shorts views within 3 months, which feels completely impossible until you do it. So like, it was impossible, and then one video did it. Because my videos before that, we had one viral YouTube video before that, and it was like 1.4 million. But then the 3 months went by, so none of those even counted, and it was like, oh, okay. And then so the YouTube pops off, and then YouTube, what's great about YouTube is they, like I said, don't care about how old your videos are.
What did it get to, just the video on YouTube, Balloon Boys? And then what did it mean for all your other videos that were already there?
Well, what was cool is how much it meant for the other videos. So it started sending people down the rabbit hole of Cheese Parade, the rabbit hole of all of my videos. So it's like, oh, you guys like Balloon Boys? And then it was like all of the videos that had gone viral over the last 2.5 years on TikTok. Suddenly YouTube was like, oh, wait, this is content that people like. And YouTube kind of made all of my old videos make money. And that was so April 8th, the first Balloon Boys comes out. And then after that, I do 2 follow-ups to Balloon Boys. The second Balloon Boys video actually did the best on YouTube. So that made a decent amount of money. In May, I made like $11,000, and it was like That's more money than I've ever had in my entire life, you know? Like, and now I'm like, how am I going to reinvest this and all this stuff? And June is already like going to be a huge step back. It's like I'm going to hit like 3,000 grand and 3 grand in June. But I was expecting that.
But then you start to see like, hey, if my variance is between 11 and 3 and I'm still growing this overall, like I can live off this. Like I can do this, right?
I mean, I'll be honest, I live off so little that once I like May, the amount of money I made in May, that's like the amount I made last year. Like like I live off nothing. So it was like, okay, this is all I do now. Like, and just having that is like, I know I'm going to succeed because before I was worried about money, and now all I think about is sketches. So it's only going to get better. And it's like, you know, Balloon Boys is an anomaly, but making viral videos for me is not an anomaly. I tend to do it like once a month, or like, you know, I will have like a bad month and I'll have 2 in 1 month. I seem to be able to do like 1 out of every 4 gets like a pretty good.
So you're saying that it's not the like, okay, now you had your one big hit and now I got to figure out how to scale this up. It's like, you've been doing this. Now you know it can reward you for it. So you're ready to go. And what did you say? I interrupted you a little bit, but you said 1 out of 4. What, like 1 out of 4 will be a successful? That's your ratio of a successful one. For you film like a month, and 1 in the month will kind of take off and be better than all the others.
Yes, that's what it kind of feels like. Yeah, that's what it kind of feels like. And what you consider success can range or whatever, but yeah, I would say 1 out of every 4 tends to be like where the views exceed the amount of followers I have, you know, or like where like, okay, this is reaching a lot of people. And that metric, the more followers I get, that metric keeps getting higher and higher of like what constitutes a success.
Okay, so that's your internal, which is like, okay, I've basically I've expanded my audience. I've gone beyond just maxing out my audience. I've now expanded it by doing this, and that's success. I'm growing my audience.
Yes, which by the way is more of a thing on YouTube than it is. That's a huge difference, to go back to what's different about YouTube than Instagram and TikTok. YouTube feels like it's really showing my videos to my audience, whereas TikTok, like the amount of followers you have on TikTok is a completely pointless number. I don't know if you've heard this or experienced it, but it's basically a vanity metric. It's like you can upload a video to an account with no followers and an account with 1 million followers, and it doesn't feel like the account with 1 million followers has really any advantage,
because it's designed to be really like a discovery platform for stuff that's on sort of more on like the merits of the content.
Right. And then Instagram is a little more geared, like your followers, like a few more of your followers will see it. But YouTube feels the most like, when I upload a video to YouTube and I read the comments, I'm like, oh, these are like Cheese Parade fans. Like this feels like actual, like these people have seen my videos. Whereas on the other ones, I don't know, it just always felt like they're just completely different random groups of people every time. But in that sense, YouTube is the most real. And that's kind of what's cool about it, because it's like they'll give me more of a chance, you know, like maybe my opening image doesn't need to be as strong on YouTube because they know, oh, this is a Cheese Parade video.
It may be hard to get the breakaway hit, but maybe more like consistency it will deliver to your audience.
100%. Yeah. So it's more consistent, and it feels like, yeah, people, I have a little bit of trust from my audience now. They trust me a little bit.
And how much time do you spend at this point, like community building, meaning replying to people, commenting, engaging, treating your audience like, hey, you know, you're valuable to me. I recognize you, and I in fact need you.
It depends on the video and it depends on the comments. It's kind of something that I'll mostly do on the Monday that I post it. Some videos I completely ignore the comments. I don't know. I'm all over the place with that. I don't have like any kind of strategy regarding it. It's just like if I'm feeling it or not. Some of my videos have really fun comment sections because, say we have like a fake Marvel trailer. for Cheeseman here. So we'll have like a fake trailer, and everyone in the comments will be sort of pretending that it's a real trailer. They'll be saying like, oh, in the comics, this happened, but now this happened. That's a fun comment section. So I'm going to involve myself in that and talk about the lore and stuff. Sometimes the comment section is really fun. Sometimes it's just like whatever, people relate to it. I probably should at least make my presence known so people can feel like, you know, when they comment, I am reading it, confirm to them that I am reading it. But I also sort of, I don't know, I get a little skittish about it. I don't want to like change the video with my comments, you know? The video is speaking for itself. I don't want to like come in and ruin it with my spiel about it or whatever.
Well, and final question for you is, how is this? I know you're at this like exciting time now, right in the midst of this sort of like growth and what's next. Has it been freeing to feel all of that, or do you also then maybe worry less about money, to your point, but more about like, how am I going to get my next hit, my other thing like that? Do you feel pressure, or is it freeing because, hey, you know, you've done it once, you've done this for a long time, and now you can just go do it? How do you just sort of think about your mental health and your focus and all of that?
So at first there was a pressure, for sure. When I was doing all the Balloon Boys series, it sort of felt like I need to do this for what they want. But just for myself, I started making other non-Balloon Boys videos, knowing that in the comments, people are going to say, you know, where's Balloon Boys and all that stuff. And you kind of have to accept that. And I did feel sort of some pressure, but now that I'm in it, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm just flowing, new sketch every week. That's all that matters. That's the only thing that matters. And it is extremely freeing. It's extremely freeing to know that in this life, my life, all I need to do is keep making videos and I will be okay. I just need to keep making sketches, and that's all I've ever wanted to do anyway. So it's extremely freeing, and it's been basically a dream come true over these last 3 months. I would say it feels like I've made it, in a sense that like there's a lot of growing still left to be done. There's a lot of aspirations I still have. I want to have a studio. I want to have consistent long form content. I want to be able to like actually hire and pay my friends with more than just food. And I believe I will do all that, but I don't believe at any point I will feel like I've made it more than I feel right now. Like, it's like, this is all I ever needed, was just enough to survive. And I have enough to survive now. And I'm like, beautiful. Let's go. I'm doing it.
Okay, awesome. Well, Scott Bigos, creator of Cheese Parade. It's exciting to chat with you in this huge high growth period. We cannot wait to see your next videos and see what's next, and see the crazy idea you come up with, and then maybe where it sounds like Balloon Boys continues to go as well. So thank you so much for joining us on Break the Internet.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. I just want to throw a few more things out there, a few more inspirational things. Here we go. Ready? Content creation. Because I know you guys, this is like for people who are creating content. Content creation in itself is not the passion. Content creation is a medium through which you express some other passion. So if you look at everybody else who's been on the show, you know, you had a magician, you had an interior designer. Like, these people all loved and crafted a different skill outside of social media, and then they channeled it through it. So you got to find that thing that works for you outside of the world of social media, and then channel it into social media. And then the other thing I want to say to people out there, if they want to do comedy and stuff, is ideas are not precious. Don't cling to ideas. You need to just get them out. Done is better than perfect. So get it done. It's not going to be perfect, but it's that idea that you're clinging to, it's in the way of other ideas. So get it out so that the new ideas can come, and that's it. Just don't cling to ideas. Don't be like, this has to be perfect, because then you'll just never make it, and then you're stopping yourself from having more ideas.
And I like that. That's an interesting way to look at it. That like that idea rolling around in your head, if you keep it, you're blocking new ideas from coming. So you got to keep it moving along to free up space for the new idea.
Yeah. When I first heard that, it changed a lot in me. I was like, oh my God, that's so true. Because I'd been sitting on ideas for so long. And it's like, I just need to get these out so that new ideas can come. And sure enough, they did. And that's what's, God, I love comedy and ideas so much.
There you go. You're made for it. Thank you so much, Scott Bigos, creator of Cheese Parade. Thank you so much.
Thank you.